Alrighty, fellow travelers, welcome back to the Adventures of a Traveling Don. In our continued series here in the Balkans, we have made it to Kotor, Montenegro, and today we're going to be exploring the old town, the fortress up on the hill behind me, and of course parts of the bay around here as well. This is my third time in this town. I love this old town. There's so much history to it. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so come on and let's explore this great town of Kotor, Montenegro. So the basis of a town for Kotor goes back to Roman times. However, the Kotor that we really kind of see here begins at the end of the 14th century, where it did become independent for a time. And then when Ottoman rule kind of started to close in, they petitioned the Republic of Venice to join them as kind of like a, shall we say, proxy state to an extent. And Kotor and Kotor Bay was specifically under the protection of the Venetians until I think like the late 18th century. So it is kind of cool. Like the main gate that you pass through was, I believe, built in 1555, and it just opens up into this initial square of arms, and just the town from there just kind of continues on. I love it because you just kind of get lost into the alleyways. It's not that big, so you don't get too lost as long as you know where your kind of like key points are. But it's still just, it's a beautiful, fantastic old city. I love stuff like this history. So particularly, yeah, being inside, something about being inside a stone wall, it's just kind of cool. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and get something to eat and then we'll continue on. Okay, so if you guys watched my last video when I arrived at Kotor, you know that specifically within the walls, food is great, the restaurants are great, it does get expensive. So if you're looking to budget while you're here in Kotor, you just come across the river, over the walls, outside of the old town, and you will find places like this spot called the Taraka Restaurant Bar. And this is north of the small river, just right outside the north gate. So there's three gates. The main gate is the sea gate that we went in through earlier. The second one is, of course, the river gate, or the north gate. You just come out here, beautiful area by the way, right along the river, so you can kind of have this sort of like nice ambiance. And you can get for breakfast, this right here, this plate is about €6.40. Holy crap, you have prosciutto, 3 fried eggs, a little bit of kind of like a sour cream. It's not fully kaimak, it is, I think, more of a sour cream. The young cheese for you there, just a small little salad, and then of course a plate of bread to go with that. And then of course you have your coffee, which costs €2. So this is all probably with tax, about maybe €10 for all of this. So we're gonna dig in real quick. So try the eggs first, and I just like look at like the dark yolk. That's what I love about, you know, it's fresh eggs. It's like this yolk is just so dark. It's very good. Very good eggs. Try a little bit of the cheese. Young cheese here for you. Oh, that's delicious. That is absolutely fantastic cheese. And then a little prosciutto, you know? Eggs, cheese, a little bit of cheese. It's kind of more of a, definitely a European style breakfast. Perfect, perfect. We'll even try this sort of like sour cream. I do not believe that this is kaimak, but I could be wrong. It's not as clotted as the kaimak I had last night, but let's just give it a try. Yep, I think it's more of a sour cream. It's not purely a kaimak. But this is all absolutely delicious. And like I said, it's only about €10 for the whole thing. And you get to sit by the river, and you're not too far, you know, it's about 5 minutes right outside the north gate. So definitely, if you're looking for a breakfast place or even a lunch place, Taraka Resto Bar, it's a place to come. So before we head back into town and then make our way up to the fort, I did want to point out there's a few different things, particularly on the north side, but I think even on the south side, there are paths into the mountains. And even there's a couple different ways to get up to the fort. This one on the north side of the river is another one that kind of goes around the back end and then comes across into the fortress. So there's different, there are different paths. This one is kind of cool. I've done this before. I'm going to show you guys what's down here in just a second. But I did want to point out that there are multiple paths up to the fortress. Now I'm going to show you the main one we're going to take is the one directly from the town, but there are multiple ways up. All right, and so that little path just kind of leads towards kind of like the head here of the valley that kind of runs through there. You can't, as far as I'm aware, really get through there. Right now, it's not too bad. It's actually at a low level of water. I've been here in the past where it was just rushing. You couldn't even be where I'm here now. That was after kind of like a relatively big rainstorm. So you do have to time it differently depending on the time of the season, the year, even like whether there was a big rain or not. But it is kind of a nice, cool spot because like not many people come down here, and you can just kind of like listen to the water and sort of like zen yourself out. So, but just kind of like a cool little hidden part here in Kotor, just outside the north wall. So a sort of unofficial attraction of Kotor, at least that I'm aware of, is of course the cats of Kotor. There's actually a shop called Cats of Kotor, but these cats are everywhere in Kotor, particularly in like this specific square near the north gate. You get you get these cats all over the place, and they're very, very well fed by the locals here, and they're like some of the sweetest kind of like community cats. I really wouldn't even call them stray cats because they are part of the community, but they're not owned by one specific person. They just sort of are part of Kotor, and they're generally really friendly. You know, you go to certain places in Europe, you see cats all the time in European cities, but a lot of times they're kind of skittish. But these ones here in Kotor, they're friendly. There's just something about the ringing of church bells. That was the noonday bell, by the way, so it's midday, but it's just, I love that kind of sound. Absolutely fantastic. So, but anyway, right down there is, of course, the main gate to come into the trail that leads up to the fortress. Now, during the season, I do believe they have someone there to give you a ticket. I don't remember how much it is. I think the only time I've ever been charged, it was like maybe like 5 euros or something like that. But this was back in 2018. They might have upped the price. I'm not entirely sure. However, during the off season and a lot of times like this, there is nobody there. So you can just walk right up. So, but anyway, time to start the climb and enjoy these views. Now, I know everything that you've seen so far, and you will see beautiful architecture. This is the gem of architectural designs here in Montenegro. You see these stairs. Look at these stairs. They go up to a platform where it's all fenced off on this side. But if you look along the edge there, there's no railing there. So you go up, hop the fence, drink your drink, apparently leaving your trash like a bunch of ninny kapooties, and then jump off the cliff. It seems reversed. I don't know how this happened, but it is an architectural wonder of the world. Well done, Kotor. So weird. So the first major stop on your way up to Kotor Fortress is going to be the little church behind me, and this is the Church of Our Lady of Remedy, and it's about a third of the way up. I'd say probably close to about maybe 500 steps all the way up to get up to here, so you think it's probably close to about almost 1,500 to get all the way up to the fortress. But it's the first place where you can get your great views of first above Old Town Kotor, which is just kind of cool. I mean, this, if you see shots of Kotor, like good photos, usually it's from this spot and getting kind of all of the bay and the mountains in the background. It's just so cool. Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. But yeah, this is a church that was built, I think, in 1518 under the Diocese of Kotor. And I believe there's actually, they have found in excavations underneath, it was built on top of a 6th century earlier Byzantine basilica. Because this area used to be run, initially it was run by the Romans. I believe it was called Acruvium, was the name of the town before Kotor. And then I guess it fell into disrepair because in the 6th century, Emperor Justinian basically kind of revamped this whole area. The fortress up top that we'll get to eventually, I don't believe that is the original fortress. The fortress that is there now was built on top of that, but there was a fortress up there during Justinian's time. So the history dates back all the way to the time of the Romans, but specifically the Byzantines, where they really started to kind of like Kotor was really, to an extent, a very important place along the Adriatic. It's one of the most important ports during the Byzantine era, definitely during its own independent era. It was sacked by the Saracens during 800s. There's actually, I believe, a plaque that did tell me about how the lower town of Kotor that you see down there was conquered by the Saracens, but there was an upper town in the old fortress that survived, and kind of like that was where everybody fled to, because, you know, you go up here, like this is very hard to get a conquering army up, because you can easily defend this at multiple points. But yeah, this is your first spot, is the church here. It's about a third of the way up to the fortress. Okay, so as you can see, we have made it to the base of the fortress. You still have a few hundred more steps to get up to the top. However, we have now officially made it to the fortress of Kotor. First off, the views just get better the higher you get. Absolutely stunning. But what's kind of cool is because it's a mixture of history. So some of like the base that you see here and a lot of the initial groundwork that you see coming up, a lot of that was done early on, from like the Byzantine Empire all the way through, you know, the 12th century, maybe even in the 14th century. However, at the end of the 15th century, when it was under the Republic of Venice, that's when a lot of these ramparts, placements for cannons and stuff like that, those were all added in later by the Venetians. And particularly during the Venetian time, which they ruled over Kotor for probably about 3.5 centuries, maybe a little bit more. That's when Kotor really kind of blossomed into a major port city for trading as well as military. I mean, even during as late as the Austro-Hungarian Empire during World War I, this was one of their major ports in the Adriatic during the war. So again, a lot of great history in Kotor, from, you know, post-classical antiquity times to really almost modern. So, but anyway, look in here. Ugh. Why are castle steps so bloody steep? I mean, people several centuries ago were not as tall as we are now. Now, given I'm not the tallest human, but 5'8", I would have been one of the taller-ish people back in the day. And they have stairs like that. What the hell were these people thinking? Another cool thing about this fortress, and really castles in general, is the ones that are still kept well together have all these little nooks and crannies and rooms to go into, kind of like this right here. I mean, ooh, spooky room. See if I can't get some light. My flashlight for my phone does not give off a lot of light. But, oh, that's cool. Yeah. This did diddly squat in here. And anyway, yeah, that's what I love about exploring castles and ruins, particularly those that have survived the test of time, because you have all these little rooms that you can kind of check out, which are really cool. So the next part of the fortress that we're at here is called the Soranzo placement, and this was considered probably the most important part of the fortress. So this was almost kind of like, not the final defense, obviously the citadel at the top is where they would make any last stands if anybody got that far. However, I believe this is where you had most of the placements for the guns at one point in time. And it does give a commanding view of the entire bay, as you can see there. So, and from here, it's just almost like a narrow shot that's very easily defensible from this point on. It's actually a relatively big courtyard, so you could have plenty of soldiers here to defend, as you could say, this sort of like last bastion before you have to actually start defending the citadel itself. And as you can see, we've made it to the top of Kotor Fortress. Ooh, what a hike. But it's a good one. It's a good one. I'd say it takes, if you were to do it straight, you could probably come up in about 45 minutes and then another, 40-ish minutes to go down. So you can do this hike, if you just do it as a hike, in about an hour 15. But obviously you want to spend time and kind of read the plaques, learn the history, obviously get some great pictures and videos along the way. But it is definitely worth it, even when you have to buy a ticket. It's phenomenal. Like, the whole climb up is great. And then, of course, when you get to the top, you have just this view of the mountains in the background. It's just phenomenal. Little point for you guys, by the way, Montenegro, as the country is known, is actually the Spanish name for the country. And I don't know why they use the Spanish name, or we in the world just generally use the Spanish version of it. The locals call it Sirnagora. When you come in, you'll see sign Montenegro, and then you'll see underneath it Sirnagora. Sirnagora basically means black mountain, just like Montenegro means black or dark mountain. And that is because a lot of the mountains here in Montenegro are all dark, whether it's purely black or it's like kind of like that more darkish gray. It's all that kind of volcanic style of rock is what a lot of these mountains are made of. And so that is what this area got its name from. But again, if you ask the locals, their country is known as Sirnagora. And I think I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I'm going to get a smack upside the head by my friend Alexandra, who has beat it into my head many times how to pronounce it. But anyway, yeah, so we're at the top of the fortress, and it is well worth coming up here. So enjoy the views, guys. We'll head down and check out the rest of the old town. By the way, the trail that we talked about earlier in the video when we were down at the restaurant that I showed you guys kind of like was a back trail up the mountain. As you can see, it kind of snakes all the way all the way up to the top. But there are off branches that come down here to what I believe is older forts, like ruins of the older fort up here, older church. Like there was, I think, historically they've been able to find evidence of even like prehistoric like ring forts up here during like Neolithic times. So it's kind of cool. A lot of great history up here. And like I said, there's more than one route up the mountain. And of course now the sun is out. Beautiful, lovely. Except for the fact that it shows that this mountain hates me. This is the third time I've now climbed this mountain. Third time going up to the fortress. Every time I do it, the weather gets worse as I go up. At least this time, the wind wasn't too bad, it wasn't too cold, and it didn't rain, although it did threaten. Actually, there was a couple sprinkles up there, but it wasn't bad. The last two times, it's been every time I go up, the further up I get, the worse it gets. As I begin to come down, it lessens and lessens until it's nice and like this by the time I get to the bottom. This mountain hates me. I love it. I will continue to climb it anytime I come here, but the mountain itself just doesn't seem to reciprocate my feelings. It's very sad. So after a successful hike, nothing better than a little gelato. There's actually probably almost like half a dozen gelaterias or ice cream shops around Old Town Kotor. Not all of them are open during the off season, but of course during summer season, they're all popping. So but anyway, a little, it was called anti-stress. So a little anti-stress for the stress on my knees from going down. I don't know why it always hurts more going down. Just because it's like you're putting more weight going down on it. But man, my legs were shaking when I got to the bottom of that. So, but anyway, cheers to you guys. A little ice cream. Mixed berry. It's actually really nice. Very nice. I made a friend. Hello, little one. How are you? As I said, the cats of Kotor, they're pretty people friendly. You looking to just kind of, oh, you're going to get staining paws all over your wet paws all over my pants. Oh, you are adorable though. Yeah, oh, hello. Just want some loving. So one of the major things I do highly recommend when you're in Kotor, take advantage of the fact that it is a walled castle town. And it has walls that you can come up to the top of. It's free, just look for specific staircases. You can't really circumvent the entire areas because a lot of them are blocked off, but there are plenty of sections of wall, both on the north and the south side where I'm at, where you can basically come up, get some great pictures, get some great views. It gives you different angles of the town that you don't see, of course, obviously, from when you're inside. And of course, when you're up on the mountaintop, it's a little bit more of a bird's eye view. This kind of gives you a different take and different angles. Also, they do on the south side here, or excuse me, on the north side here, I believe they do have summer concerts up here. There is a section that's gated off right now. They do have summer concerts up here. So if you're here during the summertime, there's a potential that you could have a summer concert on top of the walls in Kotor. right, so we've made it to the south side of the old town of Kotor, and I am up top on the Gudok Bastion, and that is the bastion that is just above the Gudok, or the southern gate. What's actually cool about that gate is that it does have a drawbridge, and I think if you didn't have that steel railing there that kind of locks it into place, I think that could technically be an active drawbridge because it still has the mechanism to bring it up and down. So it is rather fascinating. It does have this beautiful little like pool, shall we say, right in front of it as a moat, to be fair. And then of course you do have the southern view of the fortress and the walls that go all the way up, and of course modern Kotor on the outside. But yeah, this is really kind of cool. It's a little bit more quiet, but this is the second part of the ramparts of the walls that you can come up to when you're here in Kotor. All right, I have climbed a mountain to see a fortress. I have walked up and down the walls of Kotor and throughout the city. I need a little bit of a break, and right next to the Gudok, or the Gudok gate, down the main alley that comes from it, there is this place called Bandiera Pub. It's a back alley pub. It says authentic pub. I'm usually a little, shall we say, suspicious of anything that claims to be authentic, but price-wise, I got a half-liter beer. That's a big beer for about less than €4. So given that the rest of the places that you go in Old Town are probably about $6 for this, it's about as authentic as you're gonna get. So cheers to you guys. Oh, I needed that. All right, guys, so the sun has gone down, so we'll go out in just a little bit to go get some dinner. So I'm gonna kind of like take a shower, rest up, and then I'll see you guys for dinner in just a sec. And we're back out, and now it is time for dinner. So for dinner, we've done something similar that we did for breakfast. You know, for breakfast, we went north of the river, outside of town. We've come back outside town, however, we've gone south. This is a place called Merenda, and I am super excited. It's basically a steakhouse. I'm not getting a steak because the steaks can be a little pricey, although they're not as bad as in downtown, or at least right in the old town. However, I am getting a sausage platter myself with a little bit of bread and kaimak to go with it. And all that together is like maybe about 13, 14 euros. So we're gonna try the bread with the kaimak first. I'm gonna get as much kaimak as I possibly can in this part of the world. We got this massive sausage platter for like 10 euros total. And it's just fantastic. Got 3 different types of sausages. That one's good there. This one's more like a Frankfurter. That's fantastic as well. And then you got the big bad boy right here. Oh man, it smells good too. All of those, absolutely phenomenal. There's a plate of fries. Like I said, all of this right here, 14 euros. So you can find cheap places for, like, at least places with cheap meals for, you know, a very, very good price. Obviously, this place I checked out some of their steaks. It is a little bit more higher ends, but it is not as bad as if I were to try and get that same steak in Old Town. So if you are here in Kotor, I recommend Merenda's. Really good. Well, that dinner was fantastic, and this whole day has been absolutely amazing. Climbing the fortress, going around town, it has been phenomenal. And it's kind of cool to kind of see this many people that I saw today in town. I'm filming this in January, and it's just like, there's still so many people. I had not expected that. The last couple of times I've been here, I'd been in like November, and then I'd been also in January, and there was no one here. and a lot of places were closed. Now it's like there's more places open, there's more things to do, even during the off season. Obviously, it's nothing compared to what this bay and this town is like during the summertime. But even right now, it's like I was able to talk to people, I was able to meet people, I was able to just kind of like go around and really experience Kotor without the mass crowds, but just enough to give it some life. It was actually kind of cool. It's kind of sad that it is slowly becoming a big travel destination. Thus, the amount of people are coming, and of course, also the prices go up, sadly. But outside of that, it is so great to be back here in Kotor. I love Montenegro just in general, and Kotor has a special place in my heart. So, but anyway, guys, I have some drying of laundry to finish before I take off tomorrow for Dubrovnik. So stay tuned for that video. We'll be going here from Kotor, Montenegro to Dubrovnik, Croatia, and you guys will want to stay tuned for that part of the trip. But anyway, if you have any comments, go ahead and leave, or if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down in the comments. And of course, if you like the video, give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. And of course, if you want to help support the channel, I do have a Patreon page and a Buy Me a Coffee account, and I do so very much appreciate all the support. But until we meet again, guys, peace out and have a great night.